So how does one go from council estate to multi-millionaire, 11 limited companies, £10 million property portfolio? How does one do that?
I wish it was I could just say something and people could do the same.
How do I go and find someone that's going to give me 100 grand to go and put into a property development or a buy-to-let?
Terry Blackburn, the definition of serial entrepreneur.
The author of the best-selling book, Be a Lion.
Seven-figure CEO of 11 companies.
Business coach.
Mentor.
And property investor with a £10 million portfolio. This is one you are going to want to hear.
Right, ready when you are.
Good stuff. So I'm buzzing for this. So Terry Blackburn, he's my business coach. He was earning six figures by the time he was early 20s, built up a 7-figure business, sold it for 7 figures, built up a £10 million property portfolio. He now runs 6 businesses.
11 limited companies.
11 limited companies. We'll go into how he manages that in a minute.
Yeah, 6 with staff, yeah.
Best-selling author, my business coach, Mr. Terry Blackburn. How are we doing?
Very good, my friend. Thank you very much for the invite. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you,
I was going
man.
to say sunny London, but it's pissing down with rain, isn't it?
This is English summers though, isn't it, realistically?
It's the
appalling.
northeast. It's normally like this. I didn't expect it to be like this down here. Thank you for the invite, my friend.
Absolutely.
No,
it's a pleasure to have you on as well. Truthfulness, I didn't know about who you were up until about a few months ago. Mainly, one, because you're Sam's business coach. That's how I found out about you in the first place. And then 2, when I was going through your page and just your bio on Instagram, it's just like a list of just the most ridiculous things. And I think we want to try and basically piece them together one by one and go through how you've become what you've become now, which is clearly very successful. So I think we're just going to go through that. I think Sam's got a couple of things that we want to run through. So I think
Nothing's off limit.
Yeah.
Ooh,
We'll go for it.
okay. We'll get a bit spicy with it then. I like that.
I think we kick off, like, one of the biggest things is, like, how does one, because you grew up in a council estate, didn't you?
Yeah,
so how
local
does
flats,
one, how does one go from council estate? Most people in that situation would probably, victim mindset, probably wouldn't end up, they'd be hanging around with the wrong crowd.
Definitely.
And probably wouldn't end up, where you are, especially. So how does one go from council estate to multi-millionaire, 11 limited companies, £10 million property portfolio? How does one do that?
I wish it was I could just say something and people could do the same. It's obviously not that simple. I don't think I've done anything spectacular, but maybe that's down to I don't believe I'm anywhere done. If my book was like, if my life was a book and there's 10 chapters, I believe I'm probably on chapter 3.
Wow.
I think I've got a long way to go. I'm 35. But in terms of what I've done different, I cut ties with all the wrong-uns who I knocked around with when I was about 19, when I got into sales. That definitely helped. If you hang around with criminals, you're going to become one. If you hang around with alcoholics, you're going to have a drink. That kind of
It's
thing.
all that networking stuff, isn't it? Like, you hang around with the people you want to become type thing.
Absolutely. And that couldn't be more true. And I think one thing I did do sort of early on was, because I was 19 when I got into financial services sales, same as yourself, I just thought at the time, I'm younger than everybody else, I'll just work twice as hard. If I've got to see twice as many customers to get the same results as someone else, that's what I'm going to do. So I was up at 5 running, and then I was getting home at 10 p.m, 5 days a week. So it was just very much and I did sacrifice everything at that point. I wasn't I was running, but I wasn't training properly. I definitely wasn't eating properly.
Sounds like it's going to take its toll, like 5 to 10.
100%.
Working your arse off constantly, it's going to take its toll on you after a while.
And it did. It broke down relationships. It didn't see many mates and stuff. I went through a period, I stopped drinking for about 18 months and I just went all in.
Yeah.
So obviously there's been periods like that, and there's been many ups and many downs since then. But to answer your question, I think it's just, everyone starts in a different place, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to answer that question. But work ethic, who you hang around with. I got obsessed with self-development when I was 20. I remember Brian Tracy was the first one I found out, sales guy. And I honestly remember, this is quite funny, I remember finding him on YouTube, right? And I ended up buying his CDs. Yeah. I was driving around.
God, that's how long ago that is.
That was ages. It wasn't taped. It was CDs. It was CD. Go on, I'm not that old. And I remember, honestly, listened to this guy and I was like, oh my God, like I thought I'd uncovered something that nobody else knew about. I didn't want to tell anybody.
Yeah.
I was like, I've got like a secret here. I'm not
What
going
was
to
this? Because of you was earning decent money in financial services?
Yeah,
and that
so
kind of thing?
I was already doing relatively well. I was already making like 80, 90 at that age, which is great.
Yeah.
But then when I found Brian Tracy, I started to implement his sales techniques and goal setting techniques. And then me figure I was beating like, I was 20, maybe 21. And I've been in the industry 2 years. I was beating people who have been in the industry 25 years. And everyone was like, how are you doing it, Terry? How's this young lad came out of nowhere doing these type figures? And I just didn't want to tell anyone it was Brian Tracy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure. That's what I remember thinking. Like, fucking hell, I'm not telling anybody.
It's something you
this.
can go and buy and actually find out yourself, but I'm not going to tell you.
The internet of gold or something mad. It was mad.
Well, it's something I wanted to touch on with there as well, with the growing up in a council estate and things like that. I've always been a very firm believer that the people that become the most successful are the ones that tend to come from nothing, because you've got nothing to lose almost in trying it. And it feels like that's what you've just gone and done, which is go, well, I am young, but fuck it. I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to put the hours in and go for it. And I mean,
we were
done quite well.
So going self-employed when I was 19,
yeah.
they literally said to us, right, Terry, you're in this high street today and you've got to walk into every business and give them this script. I was just a bit naive, young. I didn't know what was going on. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder because I wanted to prove to everyone that I could do it, because everyone doubted us. But I was literally walking into banks, pitching the cashier life insurance when they sold life. It was ridiculous when I think back. I was getting told, piss off, F off, get out, knocking on doors, pitching them, like, and they were thinking, who's this young kid?
Absolutely.
Talking about if you die, what's your children going to do? And this kid's like fucking 19.
Yeah.
But I just
He's
remember
just finished
thinking,
puberty. What's he doing?
I remember drinking loads of Red Bull and just being on one.
Yeah.
Just every day, just on one. Because I for the first time, I felt like I've found something I was really, really good at.
Yeah.
And yeah, from literally, because I was a joiner 16 to 19, from 2 weeks into the sales job, I sold my tools and I went, I am never going back to that shit.
Yeah.
Never. And I just developed this, was a bit of an ego thing. And
Yeah.
I was like, fuck everyone else.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
better than you all.
Absolutely.
It was a little bit of a...
I think you have to have that to a limit though as well. I think you've got to have that to get started and actually go and push yourself harder than what other people are doing. Because if you're just sat there going, I mean, I'll do what they'll do, then it's like, okay, cool, well, great. You're not going to make it much special of yourself if you're just going with the flow. But if you go, do you know what? I am better than you. Think it into reality. And it happens because you've got that. It just gets ingrained in you and you go, cool, all right, I am better than these guys. Now I've got to prove that I'm better than these guys and go and make the sales to make a point of it.
Yeah. And I think maybe the age played its part, because maybe if I was 25 starting that, I probably wouldn't have been as rash like that.
Yeah.
So maybe the age played into it. But yeah, luckily it took off, and then it went from just spiraled and level after that.
So you were self-employed, selling life insurance, doing all that. When did you actually set up the business and set up Bespoke? Yeah.
So when I was 24, so I worked for a combined insurance company of America, 19 to 21-ish. Yeah. Then 21 to 24 was MetLife. So MetLife Europe, biggest life insurance company in the world. And then I had a team of 50 odd people then, 45, 50 people. And I was very much of the view of, I had all these ideas and I wanted to grow the business, get new products, do this, do that. And I was always being held back by MetLife. Yeah. Because effectively we're single tie, we could only sell their product. Then I was going to see customers and they were going to see another financial advisor, and they had a suite of 10 products. Yeah. So we were losing sales, and that was getting to us, and I was being held back, and I was like, fuck this, I can do this better. And I didn't think it would go, I knew it would do well, but I didn't think it would go as big, as quick as it did. And yeah.
And why do you think it went as big as it did so quickly? No being humble about it either.
Definitely. I mean, part of it was timing. I think when I'd done that, a lot of people then became unhappy at MetLife, and then they thought, Terry, can I come work for you? I was like, yep, of course you can.
Okay.
And I remember, because it was my first company, it was a big thing at the time, and I was like, I need to make this work. So I doubled down again, and I didn't drink for about 12 months, I think, at that point. Really doubled down and just went all in. And given me all, and just recruited like mad. Trained like mad, sold like mad, and it just went... Yeah, went a bit.
Because you scaled it from 0 to, what was it like at the peak, and how long did that take?
At the peak was just before I sold it, so 120 people, 120 sales staff. Yeah. Plus an admin team of probably, well, it was about 120 to 130 all in. It was probably 20-ish admin. So maybe it's 110, 100 sales staff.
Yeah. Wow.
Everyone who I trained up from scratch. They'd never done sales before, never done financial advice before, and I trained them because I loved that, because They had no bad habits.
And just
They
mould
didn't
them
think they
into
knew
what you
better.
want kind of
I
thing.
used to work at such and such. I was like, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
If you're here, you do it this
We
way.
do it this way.
So it was like hairdressers, builders, administrators, like a really ranged sort of background these people had. And I just said, this is how you sell. This is how you get referrals and replicate.
It's very wolfy. That is very.
Oh,
very
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, they used to call us a wolf.
Must have had some mad times in the office.
Yep. I'm not going to say that one.
Stories. No midgets on dartboards.
It wasn't that wild, but it was wild. Yeah, it was wild. During COVID, we've done some mad shit. I'll say that. But,
And so how long did that take? So that was like 0 up to when you exited. What was that? How long does that take?
until I exited, so that was 8 years.
From start to finish?
Yeah, start to finish.
Wow.
But we got to like 40 advisors probably in the first year.
Wow.
So it went really big quite quick.
Yeah.
And then as you do, you know, I recruited an administrator who was a stripper, and that didn't really go well. She couldn't type, but she looked good. So, you know, that was me naivety, just recruiting on looks and not ability.
Yeah.
But you learn your lesson, don't you? I was young,
Absolutely.
and then I went from 90, 100 at that point to all of a sudden 152, and it's a big jump
big
in
jump.
income, and I was like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
And luckily I was doing property at that point, not as heavily as I am now, but I was still being quite wise with my money.
Which I think is quite unusual because at you started to make a lot of money at what age when you were
19, really, yeah.
It's a dangerous time to start making a good amount of money. Like I had it with
100%.
Sam knows when I was making a lot of money in my old company. I went out to Michelin star restaurants every weekend and didn't care what I was spending my money on. Luckily, I did rein it back a little bit at that point and start buying some properties and things like that. But it's well done for being able to rein yourself in and actually do something else of it. Because I think a lot of people would go, do you know what, if I'm making 100 grand a year at 19,
Just go and...
oh,
Doing
fuck
this right,
it,
I
I'm
did
going to have a
some of
great
that,
time.
definitely. Ibiza
Bit of
twice a
spending.
year, living the dream.
Yeah.
I never done the flash car. Don't know why. I got rangy in that, but I never went flash with the car.
Yeah.
I don't know where the property buzz came from. Someone asked us that on a podcast the other day, and I don't know why. Maybe it's Homes Under the Hammer. I watched that. I don't know. I just thought property was a good idea.
It's a safe bet, isn't it? Like you can plug your money into that, watch it grow over time, cash flow plus the capital appreciation over time.
Absolutely.
I think it's such a good investment.
I think it's also something where I think from when I look at it, you go, what do the wealthy invest in? That's what I like. My family's from property as well, but it's like, what do the wealthy invest in? Stocks and property.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that's kind of like subconscious, and I think a lot of minds, and that's why I started doing it.
Well,
in the first
success
place.
leaves clues, doesn't it? Like it definitely does.
Exactly.
I just don't know why I done it. There wasn't a specific thing. Nobody said to us you should do property, or I just did it, and then I. For a few years down the line, I started to look into it more, read books, listen to podcasts weren't about, audio books. And then I started to mix with other financial advisors in London, actually, that were heavy into property. And I started to ask them questions. And that's one thing I've always done, mind. I've always never been scared to ask questions and humble myself and just listen to people. If you meet someone who's ahead of you in some capacity, just listen. Don't be talking at them, telling them how good you are. And I've always done that. I've just sat back and listened and asked questions. And if I've came across something, I'd ring them, exchange numbers, and I've kind of built a good network that way. And I think that definitely helped.
Just taking in knowledge all the time, isn't it? The more you can build, knowledge is
a
power
a
at the end of the
sponge.
day.
Exactly. Yeah, taking it
absolutely.
in.
And what about as well, because one of the things that the position me and Ollie in at the minute, we're a one-man band. Like when you said you went 0 to 40, like what gives you the confidence to go, fuck it, we're just going to get 40 staff in?
Absolutely. I'm sat here shocked at that as well. I'm like,
because that's one of the biggest things. And I think one of the hardest parts of like setting the business up, it's like, right, okay, when do I actually start recruiting? Like what kind of level are you at to then go, we need to bring people in?
I think if I was my age now at 35 doing that again, I probably wouldn't have went as big. I think it was maybe part naivety, part just I believed I could take on the world. And I remember we joined a mortgage network called First Complete at the time, now Primus. So we were a firm within that network, and I went to a meeting within the first couple of months of setting up. Like, who's the top guy in here? This guy, right? I'm going to beat you. And so I just put it out there straight away. I went up to him and said, well, you'll be the number one in this company. Everyone's like, whatever, mate. You youngins. Of course you will. So it's similar to maybe at the start when I was telling everyone I was going to be the number one. I just done it again, and I put pressure on myself.
so where does that leave you then, actually, on that? Where does that leave you on always wanting to be number one? Because I have the same thing.
It's not there as much anymore,
Really?
No, it's not there. I mean, don't get us wrong, I'm definitely competitive. but it's not there as much as it was. I had a real chip on my shoulder when I was younger. I was like, fuck everyone else. I'm getting the top no matter what. And then I looked at the numbers of the top firms and they all had staff. So I was like, right, recruit like mad.
Yeah. All self-employed as well, rather than employed.
All the advisors were self-employed. Administrators, back-end team were all employed.
And as a business, like, what are you offering them to like join you? Are you providing leads, or are you just, is it the sales training that they're getting in the environment, or, you know, how does that work?
So never give them leads ever. So it was all self-generated. So
If self-employed.
Yeah, self-employed, yeah. So, but we got leads as a company, but generally if we did, I would do them, or one of the top advisors, someone that had been there a while. So, but bear in mind, we were doing 1,100 new customers policies per month.
Wow.
In the end, all self-generated. It was a lot of referral business. But basically, when I recruited somebody, I look for two things, which is attitude and contacts. So the attitude that they were moldable and I could train them, and they didn't have an ego to a degree, but they didn't think they knew better.
Yeah.
They have to be obviously confident and a good personality, but the contacts, because when we got somebody in, I used to make them write a network list.
Yeah.
I used to do 2 interviews. First one, suss them out a little bit, tell them I need them to go away and write a list of 100+ people and come back to me as quick as they can. And I used to dangle a carrot and say, in a couple of days, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
And if they came back the next day, I was like, he's good. Write your network list and then come back and present it to me.
Yeah.
Some people just shit the pants. Network
Of
list, what am I going to do there?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
say, don't worry about approaching them now. I'll train you on what to say to them.
Yeah.
And if he had the right attitude and then they came back with 100+ people, I would make a judgment. I would normally take them on. And then it was heavy sales training at the start, because they've normally never done sales before.
No.
So it was very much just training them on how to sell, how to build rapport, how to close, how to ask questions, how to get referrals, how to do social media. And then because they'd never done it before, they were just clean slates.
Yeah.
I could just mold them to be like...
No bad habits, no nothing like that. You follow what I do. This is how you
Because
win.
if
type
they'd done
thing.
it before, they'd be like, oh, I used to get leads at such and such. Well, I'm not fucking such and
Yeah.
such. Go and work for such and such. I'm not asked.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, thanks so much. I'll fill your space in a day. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll see you when I'm in the Rari and you're in the Volvo.
Yeah, nice.
Even though I've never had a Ferrari.
Yeah. So then scaled that up. Obviously, as you're scaling it up, you're then plugging your money into property and other investments. How big did you get the portfolio before you left the business?
How big is it when I left the business? Not far off what it is now, because I've sold.
Which is...
So I don't really track the numbers, to be fair, but there's about 38 units. I went up to almost 50. I've sold some since. Sold the glamping business. So I've got the 3 hotels actually. Sorry, sold one.
Wow.
And the rest are buy-to-lets and HMOs. So I don't get us wrong at the start. I knew every postcode, I knew every address, I knew everything off by heart. But there comes a point where it's just, I'm not even asked.
No.
Not
You've
that
just
I'm
got
not
sets of
arsed.
keys lying
and
around.
that sounds like, I'm not like being like a brash.
No, but if you've got
fucking
38
knobhead.
properties, quite a lot of
like,
admin, isn't it?
it becomes, the more you do, it becomes about like, it's just an investment. It's just numbers. So we agreed to flip last week, and I haven't viewed it. It's just purely numbers. It's I know I can get it for this, refurb will cost this, and the end value is this.
Yeah.
And I'd look at it purely from a numbers and logic perspective. Maybe back in the day it was more like I wanted to view and I wanted to speak to the agents and be there with the builders.
Now it's just
So I don't know the
numbers stack
value,
up.
but it's definitely over 10 mil, definitely.
Wow.
It becomes less about that.
Yeah.
Sort of the more you do, I think.
And now you're coaching people to do that on top of everything else that you've got going on. Talk to us a little bit about that. So like, what does that process look like? What are you actually teaching them to do? I know you talk a lot about like creative ways of financing deals and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And if you've got no money yourself, this is how you build a portfolio.
That's what I'm quite interested as well, because I on your socials, that's what I hear about, and it's like, because everything I've done personally has always been from my funding instead of going out and try and find it. So that's quite an interesting thing to actually talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a broad subject, but we'll go through a few points on it. So in terms of creativity, so the people who've got money and the uneducated, or they just don't know how to do the creative strategies, they'll generally put 25% deposit down, 75% bank debt, buy-to-let mortgage, pretty straightforward. Interest only, the rent's over and above the mortgage, they make a profit.
Yeah.
That's what everybody knows how to do. It's dead basic. But I came across more creative ways of doing things, like lease options, like assisted sales, like raising money. So if we tackle those three, maybe. So raising money. So basically, as you know, there's a lot more money down here than it is where I live. So there's lots of people out there who have lots of money that maybe don't want to do property, don't know how to do property, don't have the time to do property, or they just don't have the inclination, they just don't want to do it. But they've got capital sitting in the bank. And we all know interest rates at the minute, you'll maybe get 5%. If you're lucky, you've got to lock it in and all of that. So, and I didn't invent this angel investing thing. It's been going around for years, but I studied other people that have done it. And you've just got to get yourself in front of angel investors, people with capital, either in a business or in the personal account, savings account, bonds, whatever. And you offer them a fixed rate of return. So let's say 8 or 10% on their money. So let's say if you lent me 100 grand, I would say, right, I'll give you 10% on your money in 12 months. So at the end of the 12-month period, you'll get 10 grand, your 10% interest, plus your 100 grand back. I'll give a personal guarantee, and they can have a charge against companies or properties if they want to. So from their point of view, it's a great deal because they don't have to deal with tenants in toilets and loads of bullshit. They don't have any of that nonsense. They're just getting a fixed rate of return on the money. But you've obviously got to be credible to do that. You've got to have capital behind you, assets behind you, because they're not going to, you wouldn't think, lend money to anybody. No. Although you see it on social media. Whether it's true or not, some divs seem to be raising money. But who knows if that's true.
So how do I then go and find an angel investor then? How do I go and find someone that's going to give me 100 grand to go and put into a property development or a buy-to-let? How do I actually find that person?
Start off with friends and family. And you approach them in the right way. And obviously this isn't going to work with every friend or family member, of course, and isn't going to work for every person, because if you've got a bad reputation for whatever reason or another, and you're approaching people and they remember you because you used to do this or used to do that, you're obviously going to struggle. So it's different per person. But generally, if you've got friends, family members, or you know people with money, they're your starting point. Start with the lowest hanging fruit, the people that you know first, and you approach them in a soft way. There's various ways we teach how to do this. You do an investment pack and you send it to them and ask for feedback, opposed to asking them directly. People feel like they're being sold to them. You ask them for feedback. I'm going to send this to other investors. What do you think? Some people will then come back to you and say, well, actually,
don't send it to other investors. Stay
here. And don't get us wrong, the first time you raise money is the hardest by a mile, because it's a bit of a mindset block. You think, why on earth would they lend me money? Why wouldn't they just do it themselves? That's exactly what I used to think.
Imposter syndrome almost.
100%. Because you'd think, well, if they've got money, they would just buy property themselves. But people don't. Not everyone wants to do property just because you do. So and then it's about networking, getting yourself into good circles, mixing with the right people, going to the right places. And once you mix with those type of people long enough, you'll become one of them, and you'll start to raise money. So that's raising money. So, because, you know, no matter how much money you've got, everybody's capital is going to run out at some point. Everybody's. Even if you've got 10 million quid, it's going to run out at some point. So that's raising money. So the creativity came from, like, lease options is assisted sales is easier to understand. So let's say you had a property and it's been on the market for a little while and you couldn't sell it, and you won 100 grand. And probably get fuck all down here for 100 grand, would you? Wouldn't even probably get this room for 100 grand.
Definitely. You couldn't even be a quarter of the side. It'd probably be that little corner where the desk is.
Someone's shed.
But just for easy numbers.
Of course.
They get loads in the northeast for 100 grand. But so let's say you wanted 100 grand. You were stuck on 100 grand. You really wanted 100 grand because that was your number, But it's not, you're not getting 100 grand. It's been on the market for a while. So if I knew something had been on the market for a while, I would approach that guy or person, and I would say, right, well, as long as it needs work, obviously, this property in particular, and say, right, well, I can get you 100 grand. I know it hasn't sold for 100 grand. I know that's what you want. I can get you that, but the property needs a refurbishment. So what I'll do is, at my cost, I'll refurbish this property. We'll exchange contracts, so I'm legally bound to complete because I'm not messing around. I'll then do the work at my cost. I'll then resell it. And yes, and you be honest with them, I'll make a profit, but at least you'll get your 100 grand. And I need 6 months to do that. It's not going to work every time, but it does work. And that's an assisted sale. So the beauty of that is you don't need a mortgage to do that, because I'm not completing on it. I'm just exchanging. So none of that nonsense we have to deal with. You deal with. I used to have to deal with mortgage nonsense. And so your outlay is legals plus a refurb. And there's some chunky stuff, it's chunky profits in those type deals. I've got a couple of guys from down here on my mastermind. It's from Kent, never done one before. It's about 35 grand refurb. So his outlay is 35 grand. His profit is 80 grand.
Wow.
So he's not even getting in. I think the purchase price is 300 odd. So if he was to buy that traditionally, he'd either have to use a bridge, 25 or 30% in, mad fees, plus stamp, plus legals, plus then refurb. Whereas an assisted sale, it's literally just a refurb and a grand legals.
Absolutely. I mean, you can
That's,
take a view on pretty much all the legals as well, realistically, if you want to
Yeah.
be super quick about it as well. So
Yeah, you could indemnify everything. You could
You'd
go
love
really
that,
quick.
wouldn't you?
bring it on every single day of the week. I don't care.
But I know you're an estate agent, so you know there's definitely
Yeah.
there's scope for that. Obviously, there's a bit of a conflict, but
Yeah.
there's definite scope for that, and even more so down here because stamp plays a massive part. You could look at deals that other investors couldn't
Yeah.
by skipping the stamp.
Yeah.
So that's assisted sales. Lease options are a bit more creative. Again, that's when you're exchanging contracts and you're basically looking after their mortgage over a period of time.
Yeah.
And they've normally at this point got some sort of issue. It's maybe a problem tenant, or they
Yeah.
just can't sell it, or it's on the market with the tenants in situ and it's sat on the market for a while. There's normally some sort of problem.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it a problem. Some sort of situation.
Something
And
stopping you from getting to
some
actually
sort of
the sale.
scenario, and you're
Yeah.
just offering them a solution. And it's got to be, I must make it clear, in all of those scenarios, lease options, assisted sales, and raising money, it has to be a win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't me, manipulating people because I'm good at sales to persuade them to do this.
Yeah.
In that scenario, you won 100 grand. You've
Yeah.
anchored on the 100 grand, and I've said to them, you might not have the money for the refurb at that point. I'll do this, and I'll still
Yeah.
get you 100 grand, and I'm going to make a profit.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm not going to do this for
No.
just out of the goodness of my heart
No,
and
absolutely.
refurb your property so you can sell it. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
clear and transparent with everybody throughout, and you create win-wins. And when you do that, like I've now got estate agents coming to me saying, Terry, I've got another one.
Yeah.
He wants this number and we can't get him this number. Could you come in? But it needs a refurb. So I've now educated the estate agents in my area
Yeah.
what I'm looking for, and they're bringing deals to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I've done this job for 7 years now, and I didn't know about lease options until about 6-7 months ago, when we had a sitting tenant who'd been there for 25 years, refused to move out. They did all of that, and then eventually the council came and kicked him out, and then they did what they needed to do. But it's an amazing idea. It's just trying to get it past some of the estate agents who want their completion fee nice and quickly. And
Yeah. but what we say to this, because that's normally the first objection
Yeah.
that there is I say to the estate agent, if it's on market, I'll pay you fee on exchange. And then when I resell it on an assisted sale, I'll pay you again. So
we need more of you down in London.
Send me the leads, brother. Send me the leads. I'm here. But no, it's great for the once they.
Yeah.
And of course, you're an estate agent. You know the crack. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the old school boys will be, they don't like change. They don't like different things. They'll be you're fighting a losing battle with some
Yeah.
of them, and it doesn't work for everybody.
No.
But maybe some of the bigger corporates, they're not going to entertain these
No.
things for obvious reasons. But a lot of the independents, the smaller ones, the scope, man. So, I mean, I know these people online, they say no money down deals. Like, they're all rare. And,
Yeah.
and
So
no
people
money
like
down.
Samuel
is-
Leeds and stuff like that as well. Like,
Like,
yeah.
No,
Come on then, here we go, come on then.
No, to be fair, I don't know the bloke.
Yeah.
I'm saying Blagger based on what other people have told us.
Yeah.
I know some of the
Yeah,
things I've
whatever.
seen. No, I don't know what. This is the problem with social media, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people say things online or say that they've done things online, but who knows if it's true? So
Yeah.
you can't really make a judgment on anybody, really,
Yeah.
until you meet them. So that's
So you-
probably not fair to say. I don't know the bloke.
Do you believe what he's pitching online?
From what I've watched, some of it doesn't look accurate.
No.
But some of the other things he said do. So
Right.
it's hard on, man, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not the type of person, I don't want to shoot someone else down to make myself look better,
Course.
because I don't think that works.
Yeah.
It's not a good strategy, that. But I know about my successes, and I've had loads.
Absolutely.
And he talks about a lot of successes, as do loads of other educators.
Of course.
They've all got success stories. It's just very difficult to work out.
Yeah. What's true and
He
what's
has,
bullshit.
he has
You know
got
what I
a lot
mean?
of bad
It
press
is.
as well, like with people talking about like
Yeah, I know.
his conferences and stuff, and like he's a scammer and all this. But obviously he's amassed a fair amount of followers. He's been doing it a while, and you are going to get those
I mean,
negative people
he's-
regardless.
He's nailed YouTube, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Fair play
Nailed
to him.
socials
He's-
full stop,
well,
hasn't
well,
he?
yeah, he has. He's got a lot more followers than me.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how many properties he's got. Like I said,
Yeah.
I don't know. If I met the bloke, I could tell you what my
Yeah.
accurate judgment of him was, but I haven't.
My guess is that he's very good at playing a character on socials, and whether he's like that in person or not, might be. Don't know. Never met him. Same as you. But from it sounds like he has it's the same as a lot of people. Socials. It's I'm this successful. We've done this. Never shares any of the down stuff really. But
yeah.
no one massively wants to hear about the down stuff most of the time. Something I want to ask though, going back to you, get rid of Samuel Leeds.
Not a fan.
The biggest, what's the biggest from some of the people you've been training and so on now with the property stuff? What's the biggest success you've had, or what have they done that's been the biggest success that you can say?
I mean, even if you just look at the mastermind that we're currently running, so run like a 6-month mastermind, it's normally for sort of relatively experienced investors, not for sort of newbies. But one lady has rose 255 grand angel investment, another guy 170. There was 4 or 5 of them that have rose 50 grand where they'd never rose any money before.
Wow.
Because we give them a process of this is what you say to your friends and family.
Yeah.
When they say this is what you say back, etc. That lad from down here, well, it's Kent, he agreed that 80 grand assisted sale, never done an assisted sale before. His outlay is 35 and he's making 80.
Unreal.
Guy that I work with one-on-one, he was a chartered accountant actually in London, moved back to Manchester, wanting to do property, still working as an accountant from home. Within 12 months, he left his job and he made 80 grand doing 80 grand doing sourcing. So I told him how to source, and he'd never bought a property before. Now he's got loads of investors from Singapore. Deal sourcing. So I've had quite a few. I've had people, who I've trained on business. One guy in particular, he's only set up his business just as I was starting to work with him, and his year 1 turnover is going to be 400 grand. Woo. He's set up a second business that's probably going to dwarf that. So there's been loads, but I can't take full credit for that because the thing is with education, I could say the same thing to 20 people, and there might only be 5, 10 of them that do anything with it. And for every success, you've always got someone that it's had the same education or advice, they just do fuck all with it, right? Yep. So, but there's been loads, to be fair, and I do pride myself on just telling the truth, and sometimes it's not what they want to hear.
No.
And I'll tell them, stop doing that, that's bullshit. Stop being lazy, or do this and do that, or whatever. Yeah. Because they need to be told. I'm not there to be the pal. I'll be the pal. Yeah. But I'm there to help them get better. Yeah. And that's what people need, accountability at the end of the day. So, absolutely. But yeah, there's been plenty.
Absolutely. Amazing.
I mean, that comes on to like your mindset about be a lion as well. I remember you, when we did that coaching session last year, and you were talking about Be a Lion. And obviously that's one of your books, isn't it?
Yeah.
Talk about that. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Be a Lion. So it won Benjamin Naffield English, but I wrote 2 books. One won awards in Hollywood, San Francisco and Paris. That was pretty cool. So that was Be a Lion. But I failed English. I just wanted to dig into the system there. I failed maths and I was a financial advisor. So Be a Lion.
Yeah.
So that book is it's basically about my life, how I run my life, how I do everything that I do. Because I get asked a lot, how do I do all of the things that I do all at the same time? Hotels, bar, restaurant, an estate agent, coaching, mentoring, property, insurance, mortgages, all that. So it's about how I run my life effectively. And there's 3 main analogies in the book: the lion, the hyena, and the sloth. So everyone can relate to this, and you'll normally picture a lion when I'm saying this. So the lions of the world. So, I don't know much about lions, I must admit. I had some knobhead online was like, well, actually, did you know lions? Some little gimp who knew something about lions, right? I don't give a fuck about lions. Really. But the point of the book, everyone understands. Yeah. So the lion is the person that just gets up and attacks their goals. Just like the lion who's lying under the tree and sees a zebra, he doesn't think, nah, not today. That zebra's too fucking muscly for me. It looks too fast there. Oh, no, it's too big. The lion just attacks, right? So being a lion in your life, you just attack everything that you want, whether it's property, whether it's businesses, whether it's doing podcasts, whatever. You just go and attack it, and you don't doubt yourself. Just like the lion doesn't doubt yourself, he goes and attacks the prey. And you look at your goals in the same nature. The hyenas are the people in your life that are negative. So hyenas have got the horrible laugh, haven't they? That cackle that they do on The Lion King, right? So they're the people in your life that'll try and put you down. That'll try and kill your dreams. That'll, you tell them I'm going to buy this many property or build this financial services company, and they say, you couldn't do that. How are you going to compete with them people? How are you going to do this? You'll never do that. No, you came from this background, or you haven't got this. Everyone's got them, right? It might be a partner, an ex-partner, a friend, a family member, someone down the pub. Everyone knows hyenas. And you have a choice how much you hang around with these hyenas, because if you're hanging around with loads of them, even if you're a strong lion, they're going to bring you down, aren't they? They're going to win the fight. They're going to surround you and drag you down to their level. So your options there is you remove them from your life. You can't remove them fully. They're always going to be there. Or you get a load of lions around you so they can't get in. And the last analogy is the sloths. So these are the lazy bastards in life. They do fuck all, and they just climb around the trees dead slow like that. And they're the people that just tick along and they just get by, and they don't really achieve anything. And you try and talk to them about investments, and they're like, what's a mortgage? They haven't got a clue, right? I don't mean to shit on those people, because There's plenty of people like that, and actually really nice people.
Yeah, and they're happy. They're happy with how their life is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sloths fucking smile if you see them. I was googling them. There's loads of them that smile. They're dead happy in them fucking trees. They're just messing about. Yeah. But the analogy in the book to them is like, if you hang around with loads of sloths, you're going to become a little bit slower. You're going to become a little bit lazier. You're going to let yourself off, and you're not going to have big, chunky, exciting goals if you're hanging around with loads of people that their biggest goal is to go to the pub and watch Match of the Day. Like, you're a product of your environment, like we talked about at the start. So that's the book anyway. It's about the 3 analogies and how I live my life.
That's a bestseller as well, though, isn't it?
It's done really well, yeah.
Not even said that, I say. Don't need to be humble. That's amazing.
Yeah, because it also, like...
For someone that failed English to go and get a best-selling book, unreal.
I wrote it in 6 weeks as well. I put that
Did
in
you?
Yeah, 6 weeks, yeah. So I set a goal again. I'm big on goal setting. I set a goal and I transcribed it. And I sent it to an editor. She edited it, put it in chapters and all that. But like, I couldn't have wrote it, wrote or type it. Would have took forever. It's like 270 pages. I'm not that. I'm not slow, but I'm not fast.
He's a sloth.
Yeah. Fucking hyena. so yeah, it was. But I enjoyed it, and then getting all the feedback, and then I done it on Audible as well, so in my Geordie voice as well, which is actually really challenging because you've got to read exactly word for word.
Absolutely.
Which
you
is
can't
really
skip
tough.
out words.
Yeah, and where you pause and where the commas are and the expressions and all
That's
that.
pretty tough.
Yeah, it was really tough. But yeah, I enjoyed doing it. I wrote another one. Didn't go down as well. Audible's coming out on that soon. And I did set a goal. I'm a little bit behind, but I think I'll still do it. I said 10 books in 10 years is what I'll do.
You've said it now, so...
Oh yeah, I've said it before as well, so I'm going to do it, I'm putting pressure on myself to see. So now I have to do it. I've got no choice.
What's your inspiration and who do you look up to? We were talking about this before, wasn't we? About like other people who you can look up to, especially when you get to your level, because you're, 34 now?
35.
35?
Yeah.
So who's your inspiration? Like, who motivates you, and who, what podcast do you listen to, or what people do you listen to keep you motivated when you're already at that level?
Controversial one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
I don't really care what people think.
Why?
I don't. Well, I do agree with 99.9% of the stuff, right? I do.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me that I don't think he'll probably ever leave is that's ingrained in there big time now is no matter how you feel, you've got a job to do, you've got to do it. And that's what he really shouts about. He shouts about discipline, fitness. I was already into fitness prior to that, listening to him anyway. But from a purely get up and go, get your arse out of bed, get to work, I think he's one of the best motivators out there. Park all the stuff he says about wives and all this mad shit he says online. He's doing it for attention. He's doing it for a reason.
And I think a lot of people get caught into, if someone's like that, obviously he's controversial, but he does that so that he blows up, right?
Of course he does. It's all intentional.
Just because they say that stuff doesn't mean you can't then agree with them on all of the business stuff.
Exactly. And he's a billionaire. You can't disagree with the business stuff that he's saying.
Is he a billionaire though? Has anyone seen proof he's a billionaire?
I haven't seen proof, but honestly, I don't doubt what he says. I think I've probably watched every bit of content he's ever done because I am obsessed with self-development, right? I am. And it just so happens that he's the big thing at the moment. Before that was Grant Cardone. I've listened to a lot of Brendan Burchard, I quite like, all the online marketing stuff. I've listened to Diary CEO quite a bit. I liked it more when it was about businessy stuff.
Yeah, we said that, didn't we?
And now
the whole purpose,
the relationship nonsense.
The whole purpose of this podcast now is because when we first met was at the Diary of a CEO product testing. That's how we first met.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
And we both really enjoyed listening to it when it was business side because that's who he was to start with. Exactly.
Startups that everyone's heard of.
But now
it's just like
it's a bit of
sex
a
therapist. It's like,
I'm
not. That's not what I'm.
We'll use it as a clip, but now it's a bit of a cry fest. Now instead, it's like some of the guests they have on are great, and I like listening to them, but that's not why I listened to it to start with, and that's why we started. But I think that's the purpose of this podcast is to, as I talk to people like you that have done what quite a lot of people want to do, and relay that message out there of how you've done it. Obviously, not everyone's going to be able to copy you exactly like for like, but if they can take something from the podcast in any way, shape or form, amazing. We've done what we wanted to do type
100%.
thing.
Definitely. No, I'm with you on that, and I completely agree. And it also depends upon what the person, the listener, is interested in the most. So we're obviously all interested in business, money, success, finance, all of that. So we'll typically gravitate and listen to things that are about that. There's obviously huge demand for relationship counselling and health advice and all of this. So he's trying to be really broad. And he's obviously got a monster audience.
Absolutely.
Can't take that away.
But me personally, you know, I've got my health in order, my relationship's great, I've got kids. I didn't mention that I have 4 kids as well. That's harder than running all these companies.
Fucking hell, you must be off your feet all the time.
4 o'clock
Jesus.
this morning it was, he woke up.
Jesus.
And I missed my train on the way here, but never mind. So just going back though, so in terms of influences, with me, it's very much what I need at that time. And I think it's just like reading books. Books hit you different depending upon when you read them. And podcasts are the same. So have you ever had that when you've listened to someone, you're like, oh my God, that is exactly what, like that applies to me right now, or I needed to listen to that, or you know what, that's happened to me or happening to me. So podcasts and books are the same. The timing of when you absorb them matters. So depending on what stage you're at. And I've listened to loads of health stuff because I did that body transformation, and I'm big into the gym anyway. So I was you know, listening and reading about health stuff. So it all just depends on what you want, doesn't it? At the time, I think.
Fair enough.
100%. Yeah.
Fair enough.
On that note, what you want. So what's the plan now? 35, probably could just put your feet up, you know, go on loads of holidays. Like, what's the plan? When are you going to stop? How much is enough?
So enough's never enough, because like I can't see myself retiring at any point. And the only thing that changes is it's the goal. You know, normally if you're ambitious enough, by the time you've almost hit your goal, you've got a new goal anyway. You still should celebrate once you've achieved that goal. But right now, as I'm here, my main focus is by age 45, so 10 years time, I want pretty much minimal staff. Still got about 30 odd staff now. It was 160 at some point. I want minimal staff, minimal hassle, high income from property with probably minimal debt. So I'm going to go through a phase of still growing at the minute, consolidating, selling some of those properties off and paying down the debt.
Make it nice and lean.
So nice and lean, where I don't have to do mortgage applications every fucking 2 weeks. I don't have to deal with solicitors that often. I don't have loads of bullshit issues with staff. And I'm making more money than I'm making now, and I can be on holiday most of the time. That's where I want to be in 10 years.
So you're basically self-sufficient without having to do much.
Yeah, and don't get us wrong. I don't have to work now. You know, me rent rolls of good few $100,000. I don't need to. No. I don't need that much to live off. That's not including business income or coaching or masterminds. Anything that I do that because I legit enjoy it. I do think I've only done coaching about 2 years. I do think I see that as a big something online, that is a big part of my future, because I do enjoy it. I don't enjoy working with everybody. I love working with Sam, obviously, because he's meant. But some people are like, fucking hell, I feel like a counsellor, and they're just showing me here about loads of nonsense. And I know they're not they're not doing what I asked them to do, and that's a bit frustrating. But I could do that from a beach. I can do that from
scalable as well. Like when you get to
also, you can do things like coaching courses where you take you can either do it solely yourself, do it with a couple of guests as well, just film it. They go, that's the coaching course for 3 months, and just loads of clips, and you obviously take calls, and then do that once every 3 months, and you can do that literally wherever.
Absolutely, and that's what I love. And you don't need staff, and there's no overheads. It's a nice and lean business, which is still profitable. And if you're good at it, which I believe I am, and you enjoy it, which I do, like, why wouldn't I do that from a beach in Spain instead of running all these mad companies with loads of nonsense going on? So that's where I see myself. I don't really have a property target anymore. I have an income goal for the year.
What's that?
Not going to say that because my staff will be listening. No. I'll tell you off camera. So I've got that goal, and I tell you what I do like doing. I do like setting myself a self-development goal. So at the start of the year, I normally think, right, what do I want to learn this year? Where do I want to improve my skill set? That might be something, is... not that I need help networking. I'm pretty outgoing a bit like you. So, like, someone listening to this, you might think, well, when I go networking, I freeze and I don't know what to say to people. There's books on networking. There's podcasts on networking. You can learn any skills. So if you look at if you be honest with yourself and you self-analyze and you think, right, well, I'm not very good at this or that, make it a goal to get good at it. Find someone who's good at it and ask them for advice. Read books and listen to podcasts and listen to audiobooks on that subject and get better.
I think
if you get more well-rounded, you're laughing.
I do think people that say, especially in this era now as well, people that say there's no easily accessible way of learning how to do something, it's a load of bollocks. You can go on YouTube, or listen to audiobooks or whatever. You could probably learn to be a surgeon through YouTube nowadays.
You could.
Like it's an extreme
I mean,
scenario.
you could.
but
I
like,
wouldn't let them cut me open. But
you
yeah,
can learn
could.
everything, and it just takes. I think with stuff like networking, I hate networking. We've talked about it before. I despise it. But you just got to at some point go. Do you know what? Fuck it. Just do it, type thing, and got to have the confidence. To just do it once. After that one time, you should fly. But
second time's easier than the first. Third time's easier than the second.
And then it becomes second nature after that, and you just do it naturally.
100%. And also just to add to that, make sure that you've got an objective by getting good at that. So there's no point just getting better at networking events if you don't want to network. But that's what some people do. They say, "Oh, I'm setting this goal," and I'm like, "Why?" And I'm like,
I saw it on TikTok.
but why you need, and then it's kind of, but a lot of people still do that. Even experienced people, they set goals and they're just with no real objective. So I say to people on social media, like I say it was right, I want to get better at social media. I'm saying, right, well, this is how I do it. This is what I think you should do. But why do you want to get better at social media? Because I just want to do so. I want to be, but you need a fucking objective. There's no point in wasting your time on, so you shouldn't even be posting if you haven't got an objective. Don't be posting pictures of your dinner and all that nonsense like people do, carrying down the street does. There's no fucking point. Do stuff. You need an objective behind everything, and I think. That stems from your goals. You've got to have goals that excite you and that will change your life, and you've got to have a strong reason why and all those things. And I've always managed to do that. Find stuff that excites us in my reason why. Which, you know, when it's a shitty cold Tuesday morning, like today. It's Tuesday. No, it's Thursday. What day is it? Wednesday.
It is Tuesday.
Tuesday. Fucking hell, you have
Yeah.
to, no sleep.
lost
What
track.
happens when you have kids, you see?
Fucking
You fucking lose track of what day it is. But a cool Tuesday morning, that's why I said Tuesday morning, when you can't be asked to get out of bed and it's raining and it's cold and you're tired and you're grumpy and whatever, when you've got a big chunky goal, that gets you out of bed on those days. And those days when you can't be bothered are normally the days that, if you compound them up, make the biggest difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because we're coming close to the end now, I think we wanted to ask our closing tradition question now, which is, I know you said that success is the thing, you kind of want to make the companies lean and be like kind of self-sufficient. But if we're talking solely money, to live an amazing life and do what you want to do, how much money is enough money?
In general, on my life.
Your life.
Right now, enough. How much to get by?
How much to live like your, like how much money?
You know,
enough. Well, there's none. So just anchor on a big number. I would say £1 million a year.
Yeah. Fine. So income wise, and then like actual assets, money in the bank. Like what's the figure? You know, everyone's got like
got
millionaire, decamillionaire, billionaire. Like, is it billionaire or is it multi-millionaire? You know, you're already.
I don't think, maybe it's 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I might have said something as brash as I want to be a billionaire.
Yeah.
But the more money you have, the less it almost becomes about money. And I don't want that to get misunderstood. I'm very money driven. Definitely I am. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, I wouldn't be working so hard if I didn't like money and everything that comes with it. But I don't really look at how much equity's in my portfolio. I don't look at my net worth. That's not a measuring stick that I use. I don't really like having a load in the bank. I've got quite a few $100,000 in the bank, but I don't particularly like that. I would much prefer it out into assets that's
doing
producing
something
more money. Because it's just devaluing. So I don't really look. I used to always, one of the first targets was 10 properties. It was $3,000 a month in positive net cash flow, $100,000 in the bank. I've had all of those targets, $500,000 in the bank. I had that target, which I'd done ages ago. Like, I wanted to sell a business for 7 figures. I've done that. Like, there's all of these things that I've kind of done, and I don't really think 100 million, that doesn't really excite us. And don't get us wrong, maybe I'm an old person. I went to see a psychic.
You're not old,
no, hold on. I went to see a psychic, and they said I was an old person in a young person's body. Right? That's what they said, right? So am I? And they said I'd lived loads of lives before, right? So
there we go.
So I don't know if that's like why I'm like I am. I don't know, right? But to answer your question, I don't really anchor on a number. I'd like to think when I get to Spain, that figure needs to be knocking on £1 million a year from the properties, because and not that I need that much.
No, but
it will be. I think I'll be satisfied.
Not much else you can do other than buying a private jet, buying a yacht. Like, there's not much else you can't really do. Like, you can pretty much do everything.
And yes, I would like to fly private, but I don't know if I'd want to own a jet.
No.
But in 5 years' time, would I think different? Probably. the fact that I tell you one thing, if I didn't have kids,
Yeah.
I'd be different.
Yeah.
Because it does change when you have kids.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely does. If I didn't have kids and I had the money I've got now, I'd be living a different life. Just a very different life. But yeah, I'm very, very happy where I am. I would not change, honestly, I wouldn't change anything.
No.
People ask you that question about regrets, don't they?
Yeah.
I have zero.
That's
Zero.
very good.
I love everything that I've done, and yeah, I've upset people and done some stupid shit, but that made us who I am, so I don't regret anything. I'm happy.
Cool.
Oh man, thanks, mate.
Thank you for coming
Hey,
on,
thank
mate.
you
That
very
was brilliant. That was amazing. That flew by. I'm just looking at the clock over there.
Yeah,
It flew
that's the
by.
thing. We run out of time.
But thank you so much for coming on. That's brilliant. So that is, God, what episode are we now? 4?
Episode 4.
Episode 4 of Open Book
That's
done.
my lucky number, just saying.
There we go. It's perfect. So as always, please make sure you follow the podcast on Spotify, YouTube. It's now on Apple as well, so do listen. We do want to try and keep growing this podcast. It is fun for us, but obviously we can get a bit bigger. That'd be amazing. But I've been Ollie,
Sam?
and that was Open Book.
That's cool, that. Enjoyed
Lovely.
That. Is that all right, yeah?
Cheers, mate.
Perfect. Thank you, mate.
That was cool, good. I enjoyed it, man.